A Spark of Hope by Melanie Davis. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. Sue Davis will light the chalice here in the sanctuary. Those of you at home are invited to light your own chalice now. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lit the flame within us and the community. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing with us as big and loud as you like. Make it a joyous experience. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the opening hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you have joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU7 principles. Today's service centers around the third principle. We affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. My name is Catherine Lekich, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you joined us this morning. If you are not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website at uucambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out what's happening, the e-blast sent to you every week. This is a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUC website and on Facebook. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another. We set aside this time for any special announcements that would be of interest to our UU community members and friends. Please keep your items short and to the point. If something needs more explanation, contact the person after the service. If you'd like to make an announcement, please raise your hand. When Randy or I call your name, please step up to the podium or unmute yourself, then speak. I'm going to go first. On Tuesday at 3:30 right here, we're going to have a long-awaited social and environmental justice meeting. So we hope everybody can come, even if you're not on the committee. And if you do head up one of the programs or outreach programs that we have, try to be here. And if you can't be here, please send somebody. Also, we're going to start collecting socks here. I'm going to have a bin in this room. So starting on Sunday, you can bring clean socks. They don't have to be new, but no holes, please, and warm socks. Thank you. Who else? Okay, Randy, and then Robert.
Good morning. A week from Friday, we are going to open of all A's. Yeah. So tickets are on sale at the Chamber, or go online to Lions Club website. Anyway, it's going to be a fun show, lots of fun music and a great cast. So hope to see all of you there. It runs for 2 weekends, Friday through Sunday, August 25th through September 3rd. Hey.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This Wednesday, August the 16th, the hiking group will be sponsoring a hike out to the Piedras Blancas light station. We'll meet at the northernmost parking lot at the Elephant Seals at 9:30 and go from there. It's about a 1.5 mile hike. We'll tour the light station and then eat lunch. I'll bring a sack lunch and come on back. We should be done, I would think, around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. Hope to see you there. If you have any questions, let me know during the after the service, or you can contact Nancy Tolan or yours truly.
August 27th, we're having, after the service, the discussion with the board. Okay, so be sure to bring your questions or concerns or your gratitudes or anything to us after the service. Okay, thanks.
Hello. I just wanted to mention regarding Randy's play, The Music Man, that a group of us, some UUs and other friends, are going on September 1st So anybody that is planning on going, there'll be Diane DeMarco, Dolores, Kat, me, Diana, and Tree, a few others. So September 1st is when we're going. Yes, it's my birthday. Kind of created a party.
Okay, Randy,
There are no hands here, so back to you.
what was that?
No hands here.
Okay. All right. Next week, Dolores Miera will read The True Believer by Reverend Marilyn Sewell. Joys and concerns, sharing together some of our personal and significant joys and concerns brings us closer as a faith community. We invite you to share the milestones that are deeply felt as a part of your personal life, express a gratitude, or perhaps offer an acknowledgement. But please be mindful and considerate of all who come to worship with us this morning. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. The first reading, Julia will read.
So I'm going to read a few elevator speeches from this pamphlet that you can find in the entryway. To the point, 15 Unitarian Universalist elevator speeches, which also pertains to the sermon today. Let's see, and a bit of an explanation. There's been a push within the Unitarian Universalism to have our elevator speeches ready to describe our faith. The concept is that you have 30 seconds in an elevator, which there's no elevators in Cambria, but you get the idea, to explain to people what we are about. We must be clear, for we never know when we might be called upon to share our values or faith with someone else. So I just chose three short ones. There's some that are quite long. It seems to be more than 30 seconds. So the first one is, this is a place where you are welcome, where you're invited into a fuller relationship with yourself, with the spirit of life, with other people, to build a better world and to build a better you. The second one, at its best, Unitarian Universalism is a religion of people who covenant to treat one another well, care for the earth, protect the beautiful tapestry of cultures and communities that make up the people of the world. Love is the core value from which we build. And the third is, our faith is not interested in saving your soul. We are here to help you unfold the awesome soul you already have.
Let us join in a time of meditation, of prayer, and of silence. Let us seek the quiet and the calm, laying aside our struggles. And in the silence, may there be a reverence in our hearts, a thankfulness within our spirit, and a deepened understanding of the meaning of our lives. Let us enter the stillness. May we find the compassion and empathy we need to strengthen relationships. May we find ways to love each other well. May we not judge or condemn, but rather build a beloved community. The second reading is an excerpt from The Great End in Religious Instruction by William Ellery Channing. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own, not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steady with their own, not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth, not to form an outward regularity, but to touch inward springs, not to bind them by ineradicable prejudices to our particular sect or peculiar notions, but to prepare them for impartial, conscientious judging of whatever subjects may be offered to their decision, not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought, not to impose religion upon them in the form of arbitrary rules, but to awaken the conscience, the moral discernment. In a word, the great end is to awaken the soul, to excite and cherish spiritual life. Please stand in body or spirit and sing Blue Boat Home.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor nor port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel.
Somebody wants in.
And the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrims souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Today's talk is titled Standing at the Precipice by Don Cooley, to be read by Julia Stannard. Julia.
Okay, ready? Reverend Don Cooley delivered this sermon at the General Assembly in 2007. I chose this sermon first because of the captivating title. And then upon reading more, I felt that even though this sermon is 16 years old, the projection of the subject has become our reality today. As a disclaimer, this sermon has some big words with lots of syllables. And if I fumble, or when I fumble, I will just carry on figuring you get the gist of it. Also, at the end of the sermon, towards the end, we will be playing a clip from the Colbert Report from 2007 that was included in the original sermon. So hopefully that will play well. Okay, so there we were, 10 Unitarian Universalists sitting around a table, content from a wonderful lunch and feeling confident in the direction of the meeting thus far. The sun was high, the room was comfortably warm, and we were in good company. We were talking about the ways to fund our faith in such a way that it would enable us to grow. Finally, someone asked the inevitable question in such a gathering, but why do we want to grow? In such a faith as ours, with no fear of hell or damnation in the afterlife, with no urgent dictum to save as many souls as possible, the question seems to get asked a lot. I have heard many compelling oratories on why it is important that we spread the good news of Unitarian Universalism, followed by arguments about the rightness and wrongness of conversion, what gospel means, what witness means, and even folks saying people just need to stumble across us just like they did. I thought I'd heard it all. I was unprepared for what was happening in this meeting. One of the members, an exceedingly well-respected member, stated simply, clearly, eloquently, with no room for argument, we want to grow because the world would be a better place with more Unitarian Universalists in it. Suddenly, I was jolted out of my warm, satiated peace. My attention was turned to high. Never before had I heard it put so simply. No hemming or hawing about what our good news was or might actually be, no caveats, no apologies, strident and strong, because the world would be a better place with more Unitarian Universalists in it. I thought about the implications of her statement. Would the world be a better place if there were more UUs? I think it would be. I'm not saying that we should go out and try to force people to convert. That would be useless. I am not saying that the world would be a better place if everyone were a UU. That would be boring. But at my core, I believe strongly, fiercely, that if more people held the values similar to mine, if more people actively engaged in the search for truth and meaning, then yes, the world would indeed be a better place. But why did this statement almost knock me off my chair? Why do we spend so much time hemming and hawing about these issues? Perhaps it's because as we gather in community with one another, we understand the conscious clause at the bottom of the UUA purpose and principles, where it says, nothing here within shall be deemed to infringe upon the individual freedom of belief, which is inherent in the Universalist and Unitarian heritages. Or perhaps I was surprised because we often confuse sharing our message with trying to convert. But this confusion is costing us. By shying away from these issues, we religious liberals are losing ground. Religious conservatives don't have these moral qualms. They are out to save everyone, by hook and by crook, and it must be their definition of salvation. Throughout the 1980s, religious conservatives gained credibility in politics by asserting that their religious values should be incorporated into public policy development to the exclusion of other faith traditions. The religious conservative vision for the United States, indeed the world, is one that results in oppression, discrimination, and domination, reserving power for a small number of government and business elites as the gap between rich and poor expands in the United States and the ill effects of globalization intensify. The exclusion of religious liberals from the civic dialogue, such as, but not exclusively, Unitarian Universalists, is dangerous. One agenda item pushed strongly by religious conservatives is something the political left calls dominiumism. I have to say that word a lot, so that was for political reasons, the religious conservatives don't use this term, but more on that in a few minutes. Okay, first slide. Wikipedia defines dominiumism as the trend in Protestant Christian evangelicalism and fundamentalism that encourage political participation in civic society by Christians explicitly in terms of their religious beliefs. It ranges from engagement in the political process to attempts to dominate and take over the political system. The goal of dominiumism is aptly summarized by the words of Dr. D. James Kennedy, pastor of the Coral Ridge Ministries. Quote, "Our job is to reclaim America for Christ, whatever the cost. As the vice regents of God, we are to exercise godly dominion and influence over our neighborhoods, our schools, our government, our literature, our arts, our sports arenas, our entertainment media, our news media, our scientific endeavors, in short, over every aspect and institution in human society," end quote. UC Berkeley linguistics professor turned political advisor George Latkoff says that the goals described by dominiumism stem from a strict father figure worldview. A worldview Latkoff claims many, if not most, religious conservatives come from. According to Latkoff, in this worldview, quote, and I'm gonna put up another slide, it's gonna be a little scary. Okay. The father's job is to protect and support the family. Children are to respect and obey him. The father's moral duty is to teach the children right from wrong with punishment that is typically physical and often painful when they do wrong. It is assumed that the parental discipline in childhood is required to develop the internal discipline that adults will need in order to be moral and to succeed. Morality and success are linked through discipline. The focus on discipline is seen as a form of love, tough love. The mother is in the background, not strong enough to protect or support the family, or fully discipline the children on her own. Her job is to uphold the authority of the father and to care for and comfort the children. As a mommy, she tends to be overly soft-hearted and might well coddle or spoil the child. The father must make sure that this does not happen. lest the child become weak and dependent. Competition is necessary for discipline. Children are to become self-reliant through discipline and the pursuit of self-interest. Those who succeed as adults are the good, moral people, and parents are not to meddle in their lives. Those children who remain dependent, who are spoiledly, overly willful, or recalcitrant, undergo further discipline or are turned out to face the discipline of the outside world. When everybody's acting morally and responsibly, seeking their own self-interest in a self-disciplined fashion, everyone benefits. Thus, instilling morality and discipline in your children is also acting for the good of society as a whole. End quote for the strict father figure. Where the strict father figure worldview is maximizing self-interest in a competitive world, the contrast, the nurturant parent worldview is more empathy and responsibility, seeing our connectiveness to each other. Yay! Yay! Quote, in the nurturant parent family, it is assumed that the world is basically good. And however dangerous and difficult the world may be at present, it can be made better. And it is your responsibility to help make it better. Correspondingly, children are born good, and parents can make them better. And it is their responsibility to do so. Both parents, if there are two, are responsible for running the household and raising the children, although they may divide the activities. The parent's job is to be responsive to the children, nurture them, and raise their children to nurture others. Nurturance requires empathy and responsibility. In the nurturant parent family, the highest moral values are empathy and responsibility. Effective nurturing requires empathy, which is feeling what someone else feels. Perhaps parents have to figure out what their baby's cries mean in order to take care of him or her. Responsibility is critical, since being a good nurturer means being responsible not only for looking after the well-being of others, but also of yourselves, to take care of ourselves so we can take care of others. Empathy connects us to other people in our family and our neighborhoods and the larger world. Being responsible to others and oneself requires cooperation. In society, the nurturant morality is expressed in social responsibility. This requires cooperation rather than competition, and a recognition of interdependence. Nurturant morality is based on the fundamental ethic of care that says, help, don't harm. End of quote. And then this is just a placeholder slide, because I don't have a slide right now. Of course, these worldviews are a simplification, but they are useful, for they extend far beyond the literal realm of family into the national realm as well. While we all have aspects of both worldviews in our families and in our interactions with society, one of these worldviews is most likely prevalent in your understanding of how the world functions. I have this vision of us, religious liberals in general, and UUs in particular, standing atop a precipice, at the brink of an extremely dangerous situation with disastrous potential. The wind is blowing and swirling all around. We have let dominiumism, the strict father figure worldview, and religious conservatives create a stronghold in our society. And now we must decide what to do. Once to every soul and nation comes the moment to decide. The brave one chooses, while the coward stands aside. This is the message of the moral values for the Pluralistic Society Study Action Issue that was voted on in the 2005 General Assembly. The Study Action Issue asks the questions, and it leads us to learn more about the world around us and what a Unitarian Universalist response to these issues facing the world might be. The Study Action Issue is calling us to embody our faith in new and challenging ways. And to do it, and as we do it, it reminds us to bear in mind that religious liberalism is not the same as political liberalism, that many political conservatives ardently reject the dominionist approach. Moreover, we must remember that Unitarian Universalism is first and foremost a religious community, not a political one. As such, our congregation should be welcoming places for anyone who shares our religious values, not just those with particular political views. Welcoming places for anyone who shares liberal religious values, values that are a tonic against the dominist approach of religious conservatism. But what are these religious values? Unitarian minister and theologian James Luther Adams said that there are 5 smooth stones of religious liberalism. While each of these deserve a service of their own, I think they bear mentioning here, if only to give you an idea of what liberal religious values can look like. And it is a very exciting and hopeful vision. Revelation is continuous. Relations among persons should rest on consent, not coercion. Religious people have a moral obligation to establish a just and loving community. Good things don't just happen, people make them happen. The resources available for change justify an ultimate optimism. This is a powerful message of salvation, not in some other life, but in this life, in this world. Right here, right now, we have a message. This is a message not of us versus them, not of the strict father figure, not of domination. Rather, it is a message that understands that we are all on different paths to truth. It is a message of inclusion and connectiveness. It is a message of building bridges in such a way it reduces polarization rather than feeding into it. This is a mighty vision and can be overwhelming. The Study Action Issue Study Guide has a plethora of resources to help us on our journey of manifesting this vision. But there are a few important points I want to bring up now. First, and perhaps most difficult, we must speak our values and not dwell on policies and programs. Policies and programs don't inspire people. People don't vote for policies and programs. Besides, we usually can't agree on them. I did a study on political minorities at a town UU congregation a couple of years ago. And what I found is that people who belong to political minorities, and yes, there were even a few Republicans, shared the same values as the rest of the congregation did. But that their journeys and life experiences had led them to a different place on what programs might work to best manifest their values. Let us speak from what connects us, what inspires us, values, not policies and programs. Second, Lakoff says that progressives of all stripes must become better at framing our issues in our language, on our terms, rather than using the frames provided by religious conservatives. Lakoff discusses the concept of framing extensively in his book, Moral Politics. But a quick primer, you can start by reading Don't Think of an Elephant. Which of course, then you think of an elephant. So basically, it's all about the language you use and the images you invoke with your language. For example, when the government uses a term like tax relief, they invoke a frame that understands that taxes are bad, an affliction from which people need relief. When progressives use this terminology, we are invoking a conservative frame and reinforcing it. However, if we use the term like tax investment, think of the different elements this term invokes. The taxes make the country better for not only you, but others as well. It is an investment in the country's future. Religious liberals must create their own frames and use them extensively rather than get drawn into using frames by religious conservatives. And third, we have to be clear. There has been a push within Unitarian Universalism to have our elevator speeches ready to describe our faith. This is the concept. This concept is that you have 30 seconds in an elevator to explain to people what we are all about. We must be clear, for we never know when we might be called upon to share our values, our faith with someone else. Randy, can you please play the clip? This is from 2007. I had to record this on my laptop with my phone, so it looks a little, the quality.
But we're not just celebrating the one true religion tonight. We're celebrating all religions. And I'm sure there are others here at the rapport. For instance, Bobby, what's your religion?
I'm a Unitarian.
Oh, so you're a Christian too?
Well, yes. No. I mean, I incorporate Christian values as well as aspects of many other religious traditions in my belief in God. And I don't mean to imply that I necessarily think God exists or doesn't exist, or that even matters to him or it or whoever what I do or do not believe. What's important is that it's my choice, and that's what holds the Unitarians together.
So do you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah?
Sure.
Though Bobby from the Colbert Report was certainly scripted, we laugh when we watch it because we recognize truth when we see it. But this truth is so desperately sad. If we want to put our saving message out there, we must be clear. We must have language at the ready that we can use in case we ever are in a real situation similar to poor Bobby. Finally, we must remember that we support the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and in society at large. When it comes to taking a stand on social or on justice issues, you seem to be stuck in thinking that we are all Quakers who need consensus in order to move forward with a position. Reverend Lindy Ramsden, Executive Director of the Unitarian Universalist Legislative Ministry in California, says that she sometimes thinks we suffer from idolatry of community. She asked how it is that this standard of 100% agreement applies to the realm of justice, but not to the other areas in church life. We don't expect our congregations to always make decisions that are in 100% accordance with our wishes, be it the color of the sanctuary, the time of the Sunday service, whether to have 2 services, whether to move to larger quarters. So why apply this criteria to whether or not we take a position on a social issue? Unitarian Universalists exhibit a high degree of theological and philosophical diversity. Despite our differences, we have developed congregational communities and have covenanted to respecting and affirming our differences of belief. We understand that it is our shared moral values that bind us, but how do we ensure that these values are heard in the square of public opinion and the halls of government? The Reverend William Sinkford reminds us that moral values grow out of our calling as religious people to work to create a beloved community. Moral values instruct us to love our neighbors as ourselves. And always ask the question, who is my neighbor? They are fundamentally inclusive rather than exclusive, and they call on generosity of spirit rather than mean-spiritedness. The world would be a better place if there were more UUs. Such an innocuous statement with such earth-changing possibilities. We have a message of hope that says we can make a difference in the world, that we are connected, and that we can make justice. We must find ways to make our voices heard in the greater society. We must speak our values, not simply oppose language used by religious conservatives, but rather to be proactive in invoking our own metaphors. When we do this, we must be clear. We must remember that in our congregation, we may not all agree, and that while we cannot let this stop us from taking a stand on an issue, we must make certain that those in the minority are held in love, care, and respect. This is the mission of our faith. I love this first one, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. May it be so, may we make it so. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. That was great. The morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember, we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you are viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you.
Song today is Where the Music Comes From by Lee Hoybe. The lyrics to the first verse are, I want to be where the music comes from, where the clock stops, where it's now. I want to be with the friends around me who have found me, who show me how. I want to sing to the early morning, see the sunlight melt the snow, and oh, I want to grow.
Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn, Life Calls Us On, by Jason Shelton and Kendall Gibbons.
Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with a pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on. Love calls us on. Words and deeds of those before us waken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upward to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Loyal guides in love and duty lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty show the path of truth and right. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. We have shared a radiant hour when the truth has made us free, and the Spirit's gracious power dreamed of good that yet shall be. Right the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on. 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 Life calls us on.
Thank you for the music today. As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. The flame of this chalice will no longer burn today, but the light of the flame within our hearts continues to shine brightly, illuminating the love felt in our community. Please extinguish your chalice at home now. Now let's form a circle and join hands. Julia.
So I'm to say some closing words, I'm told. What I'm just going to repeat the last of my sermon because I love the message. This is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. May it be so. May we make it so. Thank you. Thank you.